Chapter 31 Corrupted Orcs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The vine fairy planted starry sky vines at 60 points in total, covering a diameter of 200 meters. Thanks to the efforts of these little guys, by sunset, the vines that had just been planted had grown to a height of one person. Each tree had 20 to 30 tender branches, full of vitality. At night, the stars scattered and illuminated the skirt of the goddess of night. The starry sky vines were even more colorful and dreamy. Under the starry night, the vine fairy, who had been busy all day, became more active. The body emitted a unique light, like a small light bulb, shuttling back and forth in the vines. Wherever it passed, the speed of the surrounding starlight condensation increased significantly. The starry sky vines that were just planted today began to grow at a faster rate. Bane was very excited watching from the side. Building a house can be so convenient, and the wonderful ideas in his mind can definitely be realized. Praise the goddess. By dawn, when the stars gradually dimmed, the starry sky vines had grown to more than 2 meters high. The number of vines increased to 40 or 50, and the new branches grew from the size of the little finger to the thickness of the thumb. This was just one day and one night. On the morning of August 7th, when Lear woke up, he saw a large area of vines growing in front of him. The outline of the first building of the city of Weirdo could be vaguely seen. The diameter of the land exceeded 200 meters, and if it continued to grow upward, it would definitely be a magnificent building that would amaze people. This is purely grown by vines, which is different from the modern cold cement buildings. It's comfortable. After a day of rest yesterday, Lear didn't stay in the territory to watch the vine fairy build a house today. Summoned the wetland lizardmen warriors. Looking at the two squadrons in front of him, the fierce warriors in full armor, he nodded with satisfaction. Hags, leave 5 teams to guard the territory, and the others will continue to explore the swamp with me. The remaining power of the flying dragon has dissipated. Since yesterday afternoon, unknown roars have been constantly penetrating the swamp. It can be clearly felt that this wetland is becoming lively. The danger is accumulating. He must explore the surrounding environment as soon as possible. The wetland lizardman hero raised his head and responded. As you wish, Lord. Lear said no more, and let Bane and 5 teams of wetland lizardmen plus 12 level 9 swamp tree men guard the house. The existence of swamp tree men is the key to the fact that this grassland is not occupied by other swamp creatures. The inability to move is a fatal flaw, but in return, the ability to stand and fight is off the charts, which is not something that ordinary swamp creatures dare to challenge. Safety is guaranteed. The smelly giant monster and the two-headed ogre have appeared in this area. Today's target is these two monsters. At the same time, the potential of the wetland lizardman must be improved as much as possible. He needs more powerful power. In the wilderness, the level of 6 is still too ordinary. Stepping into the muddy water, stepping on the haystack, searching towards the north of the city of Dew. 3 teams of wetland lizardmen acted as outpost scouts, 2 by 2, exploring the way ahead to prevent danger. Lear led 12 teams to support the rear. With the swamp godhood, the swamp is his home. The wet environment not only did not restrict his steps, but made him feel quite comfortable, and even the speed of the magic power in his body increased by more than 10 times compared to the outside, which was exaggerated. Less than 10 minutes after leaving the territory, a warning suddenly came from the front. A low roar, mixed in the swamp, was not noticeable, but this inconspicuous but penetrating roar was the way the lizardmen transmitted information. Even in the swamp, the transmission distance can reach 2 kilometers. The pheromone of the bee, the antennae of the ant, each life has its own way of transmitting information and surviving. Wetland lizardmen are more suitable for the swamp. Hag's eyes instantly became excited. Master, we found an enemy that can be hunted ahead. That if they encounter an invincible danger, the roar of the wetland lizardmen will be a different sound. Lear nodded and asked the army to speed up. Not long after, they entered a bush more than 2 meters high, with blades like saws, very sharp. The armored wetland lizardmen protected Lear and sneaked in quietly. The 2 lizardmen who found the enemy were waiting here. Immediately report after seeing Lear. Master, there is a group of corrupted orcs entrenched outside the bush. The level is about level 6. And these corrupted orcs seem to have been attacked, and many of them are injured. Corrupted orcs. Lear's eyes moved slightly, and he signaled the other party to lead the way. After walking about 100 meters in the towering bushes, the wetland lizard man who led the way pointed to the front, and then gently pushed aside the bushes in front of him. Lear looked along the gap, and his eyes suddenly opened up. In this bush, there was a dry and hard open space covered with weeds. There were 50 or 60 figures inside, green faces, fangs, emerald eyes, no hair on their heads, and large patches of moss on their skin. They wore gray animal skin short skirts, which smelled of mud and decaying plants. They were tall, almost all of them were over 1.8 meters tall, with bulging muscles, like bodybuilders, full of strength, but most of them had red and swollen wounds on their bodies. It looked like they were bitten by some ferocious insects. Some of the red swellings were even bigger than fists, and 7 or 8 lifeless corpses were placed in the edge area. They were also covered with fist-sized swellings. Quite permeable, the injured corrupted orcs were letting out low and painful wails, making the scene even more terrifying. Corrupted orcs, level 6, potential, 1 star, racial talent, madness. After being severely injured, it enters a mad state. All attributes are increased by 40%, and sanity is reduced by 70%. Skills, roar, 1 star, after roaring. Strength increases by 20% for 5 minutes, explosive rage, 1 star, explodes with all power, and the next attack power increases by 30%. Evaluation, the orcs living in the swamp are ferocious in nature. Level 6 wild monster. Lear looked at the 2 lizard men and spoke in a low voice. The orcs here are all they have. Yes, Lord, these are the only corrupt orcs around here. Lear nodded and looked at the wetland lizard hero with sharp eyes. August, you will lead the team to destroy them. Haggis's amber pupils instantly became ferocious. Your will is supreme, that the gaze of the master is the direction they are heading. With a wave of his hand, the surrounding troops quietly and quickly gathered at the edge of the grass, a moment of great preparation. Kill! With a loud roar, the wetland lizardman warrior wolf pounced on the corrupted orcs whose morale was low and had been severely wounded by unknown creatures. The corrupt orcs didn't expect anyone to attack him by surprise, and they were severely injured, so they didn't even have to be on guard. When he reacted, the wetland lizardman warrior had his steel knife stained with blood. In the center, a particularly strong orc is astonished. Damn bastard! Roaring wildly. Enemy attack. Counterattack, counterattack. The rotten orc stood up in panic and hurriedly launched a counterattack against the wetland lizardmen. The weapons in his hands are sharpened sticks and homemade maces. The fully armed wetland lizardmen not only have an absolute advantage in terms of equipment, but also have strong morale, top condition, and several times more numbers. The moment the 2 sides collided, the defeated corrupted orcs were torn apart instantly. More than 10 people were beheaded. A corrupted orc with a knife in his chest roared. His eyes suddenly turned red, and his aura surged. His eyes were distracted, his sanity was gone, and his eyes were full of madness. Go crazy. But the next second, the wetland lizard man noticed the enemy's movement and his eyes were cold. 7 or 8 steel knives were violently swung around, drawing exaggerated blood marks on the flesh. Before the mad orc could break out, they were jointly killed. The wetland lizard warriors armed with steel knives are pure killing machines. There is no room for the enemy to fight back. Surprise attack, numerical superiority, high momentum, and good condition. With the superposition of various advantages, the corrupted orcs in front of them, who were already in a sluggish state, fought for only 3 minutes, and only 2 teams were left struggling to support themselves. The numerical advantage is further expanded. Even if he goes crazy, he can't stop the steel knife. Haggis looked at the most ferocious corrupt orc leader on the front line. With a ferocious laugh, scarlet arrogance erupted from his body, and he rushed forward. The corrupt orc leader sensed the danger, his eyes instantly turned scarlet, and he wanted to fight back, but the power of a hero is unparalleled. Cruelty, 2 stars. When receiving damage or launching an attack, you will become extremely brutal. All attributes will be increased by 30%, you will not be afraid of pain, and you will fight the enemy without mercy. Crazy blood, 2 stars. After tasting blood, the size increases by 20% and the strength increases by 40%. The attributes of the 2 skills plus the attributes of health improvement are added together, and the steel knife cuts through. The opponent was going crazy and his sanity was so low that he even wanted to hold the steel knife with his palm. Phew! The palm was chopped off and blood spurted out. Haggis gained the upper hand and showed no mercy. He turned the blade and poof, a huge head flew into the sky, plopped. The headless body and head fell to the ground at the same time. Corrupt orc leader, die. The strongest resistance force was killed, and the remaining corrupted orcs were immediately defeated. Under the attack of the steel swords, no one was left standing. This sudden battle took less than 5 minutes from start to finish. Looking at the corpses of orcs everywhere, Lear looked indifferently. To establish a territory in the wilderness, only steel swords and blood can be used. After the battle, the wetland lizardmen began to gather the corpses skillfully. Not long after, Haggis led someone to bring 2 dying orcs to him. The fist-sized red and swollen bump on his face was more eye-catching than the wounds on his body. "My lord, we found 2 survivors." Seeing this, Lear immediately became curious. How did these orcs become like this? Chapter 32 Swamp Wasp. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Orcs are indeed orcs. They are really tough and thick-skinned. One of them had his neck cut in half, but he was still breathing heavily. But what caught his eye the most was the big bump on his face that was as red and swollen as a peach. Lear asked curiously. "What's the matter with the big bump on your body?" That the 2 corrupt orcs who looked at him angrily were going to say nothing, but when they heard this, their eyes suddenly turned red. "It's all those damn swamp wasps," that the orc whose neck was cut in half said in a hoarse voice. "The swamp wasps gave birth to the queen bee." Human, do you know the role of the swamp queen bee? After eating the queen bee, you can improve your potential and activate your hero talent. "We were killed by those damn bugs because we were hunting the queen bee," he said with a somewhat happy tone, and pointed behind him. "Do you want to activate your talent? Go find the swamp wasps. It's half an hour away in that direction." He said, and a leaky laugh came out of his throat. Then his body stiffened and he stared with his eyes wide open. The remaining corrupted orc seemed to understand his companion's thoughts when he heard this, and sneered at Lear. "That's right, the queen of the swamp wasps is the treasure that everyone wants to get. Go find the swamp wasps." There were 300 of them, and only a few dozen were left. If they hadn't found a special way to disperse the swarm before, they would have been destroyed long ago. They didn't believe that greedy humans could resist this temptation. As long as they dared to go, they would be retaliated more crazily by the swamp wasps that had been angered once. The obvious intention was clear at a glance. Lear frowned slightly and turned to look at Hags. "What is the queen of the swamp?" Hags suddenly came back to his senses and said with a bit of excitement. "Sir, the swamp wasps are extremely ferocious insects in the swamp. They usually hunt and survive alone and do not build nests. Only when the queen bee is born will they gather together. The queen of the swamp wasps is the leader of the swamp wasps and has extremely special powers. The most extraordinary thing is that they can enhance the potential of life and activate the heroic talents of people. Even if the talents have been awakened, they can awaken the second one." At this point, his face was full of excitement. "This is not a legend, but it has been verified by many people." After saying that, he added another sentence. "After the queen of the swamp wasps is born, it will become extremely dangerous. Not only will the number increase rapidly, but it will also become more ferocious and powerful. I have heard that there are swamps completely occupied by swamp wasps, and outsiders cannot set foot at all. These rotten orcs are luring us." Lear nodded slowly, looking at the rotten orc who showed a smile of revenge. He smiled, "To kill with a borrowed knife. These guys still know how to use their brains." The interrogation continued, but the orc said nothing except the information about the swamp wasp. Seeing the other party's breath gradually disappear, Lear didn't waste any words and waved his hand to let Hags deal with it directly. Swamp wasp. The appearance of the rotten orc and Hags aroused his curiosity. Awakening the second talent, he looked at his blank hero talent and fell into silence. Speaking of which, he is still a level 3 mage apprentice with a potential of only 2 stars. Although there is an evolution degree later, it has always been 1%, and there is no other movement. The remaining power of the gods and the gift of the swamp are obtained after the fusion of the godhead. It is not his own talent. He is not a hero unit yet. A little embarrassed, the potential of this body is obviously limited. If it were not for the swamp godhead, it might not be possible to condense the seeds of magic power in this life and embark on the extraordinary path. Compared with a true genius like Felena, the gap is far. If all the godheads and powers are collected in the later stage, it can be made up. Now, being able to awaken a talent of your own and become a hero unit is valuable, even if you can't use it yourself. It's enough to train another hero or strengthen Haggis. While thinking, the corpses have been gathered, Lear's eyes are deep, the godhead exudes a faint pressure, and the blue energy covers the corpse. A stream of life energy is extracted and dissipated to the surrounding wetland lizardmen. These 50 orcs turned into dregs, and the degree of evolution increased from 70% to 75%, increased by 5%. The higher the level, the higher the life energy obtained. These orcs are obviously more than one level stronger than the half-fish and the Kelder rat men. There is another 25%, and the wetland lizard men can complete the promotion. At this time, Haggis approached with a blood-stained package with an excited expression and handed it over. "Master, there are gold coins in it." Lear took it with great surprise. "Orcs still have this thing in stock. Open it and see a large golden area." He fished it out with his hands, and felt the unique texture of metal. "There are at least thousands of gold coins in this package. Where did these guys get it from? Are there any other discoveries?" Hags shook his head. "Nothing." Lear felt better with the heavy gold coins in his hands. These corrupt orcs not only became spoils of war, but also contributed thousands of gold coins. "Not bad, very good. If the monsters in the swamp were so sensible, the construction of the City of Wisdom would be easy." After cleaning up the battlefield, continue to explore outside, look in the direction mentioned by the corrupted orcs. Let the wetland lizard men who are exploring the way ahead search in this direction first. It's a pity that the intelligence system will not be refreshed until the 10th. If there is information about the quagmire wasp, it can save a lot of effort. Continue to go deeper. There are still traces of the orcs retreating in this direction. Soon, a gathering place of wild monsters slaughtered by corrupted orcs was found. This is a group of half-murlocs encountered before, about 50 in number. Lear happily accepted the corpses all over the ground, which increased the evolution level by 1% again. It's a little less, but a little adds up to a lot, and it will always reach the full state. Passing through the murloc area, I saw an open space with more than 40 orc corpses piled up in a swamp. There were huge bags all over their bodies, which was quite creepy. Lear showed a bright smile on his face. "Good fellow. This is not to patrol the swamp, this is to pick up treasures, collect corpses and extract life energy." After a set of combos, the evolution degree is increased again, 80%, one step away from evolution. Who doesn't love the gains that come for free? Comfortable, continue to explore along the path. 10 minutes later, the wetland lizardman in front sent a warning. Lear immediately asked everyone to restrain their breath, slow down their pace, and move forward carefully. A moment later, passing through a haystack swamp area, at the end of the site, a giant tree that was 70 or 80 meters high and covered the sky appeared. Around this tree, the sound of countless wings flapping was breathtaking. One by one, giant wasps with a body length of more than 30 centimeters, thin waist, poisonous stinger, and black and yellow were flying around the tree. The dense number was like waves of dark tides, and it was impossible to count them clearly. The center of the tree was covered with honeycombs built of black mud. It was like a wasp city. Just one look at it can send chills down one's spine. Chapter 33 Water Crisis. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Swamp Wasp, Level 5, Potential, 1 star, Racial Talent, Poison Needle. The poison needle on the back is highly toxic, which will cause huge poison damage to the enemy and paralyze the enemy. Skill, Fast Flight, 1 star, the flight speed is increased by 40%, Piercing, 1 star, the tail needle has a strong piercing force and has armor-breaking damage to armor. Evaluation. The wasps with highly toxic venom will become extremely terrifying if they are led by the queen bee. The level is all level 5, and there are tens of thousands of them flying outside. Together with the ones hidden inside the nest, hundreds of thousands are conservative estimates. This terrifying scene made Lear have a question in his mind. Why do those corrupt orcs dare to spy on this scale of swamp wasps? A single swamp wasp is nothing, but hundreds of thousands of fist-sized swarms are another concept. Once an attack is launched, it will be a death storm covering the sky and the sun. Moreover, the swamp wasps also have a queen bee that can control the swarm. Lear racked his brains but couldn't figure out who gave those corrupt orcs the courage to dare to attack the swamp wasps. After observing silently for a while, he did not continue to approach and waved his hand to let everyone evacuate. After leaving this area, Lear opened the magic map and marked it on it. This is a high-level monster stronghold, and it is still not available now. Go back and accumulate strength before coming back. At the moment, he turned around and headed towards the place where the stinking giant mentioned by the swamp tree man. However, the information given by the swamp tree man was too little. After searching for several hours, there was still no trace of the stinking giant. Instead, he encountered a group of half-fishmen. The number of 2 squadrons increased the potential improvement progress of the wetland lizardmen to 83%. A small harvest. At dusk, Lear watched the sun gradually sink into the swamp, and did not stay for long, and began to return. Under the reflection of the colorful clouds in the sky, he returned to the territory. I immediately found that the vines that were only 2 meters high in the morning had grown to 3 meters, and gradually showed a tendency to surround. The progress was rapid. The round vine fairy was still trying to emit light and guide the growth of the starry sky vines. These little guys are really treasures. Lear was full of smiles. After dinner, he called Bane. This swamp hero was still excited. The performance of the vine fairy gave him hope of fulfilling his dream. In the past 2 days, all the swamp people were organized to discuss and prove the planning and construction of the city of Wei Lu in detail. The swamp people are natural craftsmen, and each has different views on this aspect. Under the collective efforts, the original plan was gradually improved. After listening to Bane's enthusiastic report, Lear praised him generously. Bane said with a blushing face, "Sir, the construction of the territory has gradually entered the right track. Next, we should reclaim farmland and grow food. The Noya rice we carry can last for 5 months. The fastest maturing swamp wheat also needs 3 months to mature. We need to leave a certain amount of time for buffer." After going deep into the wilderness, in addition to the dangers everywhere, more importantly, it becomes difficult to trade with the outside world. Relying entirely on buying food from outside is too restrictive. It's okay now that the population is small. If the population continues to increase, the transportation problem alone will make this option unrealistic. Reclaiming farmland is a necessary option. I asked someone to explore the surrounding area. There is a large area of silt accumulation 5 kilometers downstream in the south, which can be reclaimed into farmland. The soil in this area is very fertile, and there is a constant flow of swamp mud and water irrigation from the upstream, so there will definitely be a good harvest. Bane's tone was full of confidence. This time, they brought enough seed swamp wheat. As long as a little reclamation is done, it can be planted. Lear nodded and gave serious instructions. Starting tomorrow, we will arrange for people to go and reclaim farmland. Remember to bring the wetland lizardmen to be on guard. Evacuate in time when you encounter danger. You are the most important wealth of the territory. Bane felt warm in his heart when he heard this. Sir, you really care about your subordinates. Thinking of the confusion and anxiety when he was sent to Lear during his dark slave life, he felt very emotional at this moment. Only when there is a comparison can you know the difference. His eyes became firm. He will do everything to build the city of Wei Lu for you. After communicating about the reclamation of farmland, Bane talked about another key issue: water source. Although the swamp is not short of water, the water is full of germs and is not suitable for direct drinking. As you said before, boiling it before drinking reduces the diarrhea and illness of the tribe, but the taste of swamp water is too fishy and not suitable for long-term living. More urgent than reclaiming farmland is the need to find a clean water source. Hearing Bane's serious words, Lear's eyes condensed slightly. If there is no food, you can still get it through hunting and fishing, but if there is no clean water source, it can be fatal. I will focus on searching for water sources when I go out to explore these days. Are there any other problems that need to be solved? My lord, our manpower is barely enough for now, but if the territory expands, it will be far from enough. There are only hundreds of swamp people, and the wetland lizardmen as warriors cannot participate in production. For such a large territory, there are only hundreds of laborers, which is simply impossible. Lear nodded. I will arrange this. With the magical skill of the remaining power of the gods, there is a solution to the manpower problem, but races like the half-murlocs, whose bodies are covered in mucus and smelly, are really disgusting, and he doesn't like them either. After talking, Lear took a deep breath as he watched Bane's leaving figure, a blank, slightly exposed city, lacking everything. Comrades still need to work hard. After calming down, he stood up and walked out of the tent. The stars were already twinkling in the sky. Subconsciously, he turned his head to look at the center. Each of the vine fairies lit up themselves at this moment, becoming light bulbs that controlled the power of starlight and accelerated the growth of starry sky vines. This has become a sight in the city of Welu. After instructing August to arrange for personnel to be on guard, he returned to his exclusive tent and fell asleep. On August 8th, the reclamation of farmland to the south of began. On the morning of the 8th, at least 50 swamp people are participating, and farming is expected to begin on the 20th. Swamp wheat, as long as there is a lot of fertile swamp silt and water, can be cultivated all year round, regardless of the season, and can grow in winter, and it only takes 3 months to mature, making it the most common and best crop in swamps. After leaving the swamp, this wheat will lose all its characteristics and its yield will be reduced by half. This is a crop that belongs exclusively to swamps and is rarely cultivated by outsiders. For 2 consecutive days on the 8th and 9th, Lear searched and hunted around the city of Dew, but there was still no trace of the smelly giant monster that the swamp tree people said. However, on the afternoon of the 9th, traces of the two-headed ogre were found 15 kilometers east of the territory. This is a huge group of more than 70 people, with an average level of up to 10. The average height reaches 2.5 meters. Like little giants, 2 hideous and ugly heads grow on the neck, giving people a chilling feeling. Wearing animal skin clothing, his body is strong and powerful, and his muscles are like inflated balloons, bulging high. The weapons around him were all thick trees. On the land where the two-headed ogres gathered, a dozen rough wooden houses were built. Lear even discovered that the other party had surrounded a piece of grass and was keeping something in it. However, it was impossible to see clearly because of the thick grass. After Lear discovered these two-headed ogres, he did not rush to take action and slowly evacuated the area. The level difference is too big, and capturing this gathering place of wild monsters will definitely cost a huge price. The strength in hand is not enough. This made him feel a little anxious. The two-headed ogre has built a house and settled down, and will inevitably continue to explore and occupy the land. It was only a matter of time before Welu's city was discovered by the other party. He needed to deal with this danger as soon as possible. In addition to the threat of the two-headed ogre, Lear's water source problem has still not been solved. After searching a large area for 2 days, no clean water source was found. The originally stored water had been exhausted on the night of the 8th, and only half a barrel was left in his tent. Everyone began to carry buckets to collect water in the swamp and settle it. The next day, it was filtered again with cloth, and then boiled for drinking. However, the odor and bitterness of the swamp water are still strong, and simple treatment is far from being able to remove it, making it difficult to swallow. Lear also did not expect that the threat of the swamp monster that he was most worried about did not have much impact. Instead, it was the most inconspicuous water that caused problems first. Chapter 34 New Intelligence Revealed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 34 New Information Big Explosion. On the evening of the 9th, after exploring the territory of the two-headed ogre, Lear did not continue the search and returned to the city of Dew. At this time, a group of mire people were filling water from the smelly muddy water into wooden barrels for sedimentation and filtration. Their lips were dry and their faces were listless. They looked at the murky water in the bucket and swallowed from time to time, but I would rather hold back than drink the smelly water boiled after filtering the silt. On the other side, a large pot was set up on the grass. The water was boiling. An iron pot filled with cold water was placed on it. The water vapor that rushed up quickly condensed under the iron pot and dripped onto the wooden basin for distillation. By doing this, you can get some clean water with less bad smell, but this big pot is not enough to supply hundreds of people to burn and smoke. Grown-ups. When Bane saw him returning, he hurriedly stepped forward to salute. Lear looked at the crowd fetching water and said in a deep voice, "If there are 2 extra pots, the water cannot be stopped." Bane responded immediately, "I've sent people to collect the wood." Lear nodded. This was just a temporary solution, finding a suitable water source was the key. Pain in the brain, not in the mood to talk much, he asked Bane to go down and make arrangements, then silently came to the central area and watched the vine fairies cultivating the starry sky vines. Every day, this building would undergo new changes, making him full of expectations. The sun sets, the moon rises, and the stars shine. The swamp people who had been busy all day had fallen asleep, and only the wetland lizard people who were still keeping vigil in the outer area were awake. Lear had no intention of sleeping, so he came to the central area and watched the vine fairy building a house, silently waiting until late at night and early in the morning. The time on the intelligence system quietly jumped from August 9th to August 10th. A new prompt immediately appeared in the intelligence system. The intelligence system has been cooled down and the intelligence can be refreshed. Do you want to refresh it? Lear's spirit perked up, and his inner emotions surged instantly. Refresh. The next second after confirmation, 5 pieces of information were quietly generated. 1. 5 kilometers to the southwest, there is a field of roses growing, with as many as 12 varieties. 1 star. 2. 10 kilometers to the north of, the smelly giant monster occupies a ruins building. The building will appear on the 15th of every month, and will automatically disappear on the 20th. 2 stars. 3. The corrupted orcs discovered that drying black dragon broadleaf grass and mixing it with blood to create smoke would put the swamp wasps into coma, but the smoke could only cause coma for 10 minutes. They did not control the time well, resulting in heavy casualties. Add the earth dragon feces can greatly enhance the effect. 2 stars. 4. 20 kilometers northeast, in the hills growing with vines, there lives a group of bubble beasts. The bubbles they spit out can filter out impurities in the mud and obtain clean water. 3 stars. 5. In the mud pool 10 kilometers south of, there lives a group of dragon blood red fish. The meat is extremely delicious, without spines and bones. 3 stars. 1 star for 1, 2 stars for 2, 3 stars for 2. The information refreshed this time is valuable. Lear was in a good mood. Take a careful look at the first one. The previous intelligence mentioned that Felena is looking for more types of rose flowers in order to make a breakthrough. There are actually 12 species in that area. Next time I return to Lowland City, I will give you a gift. The other party shouldn't be stingy in returning the gift, right? That's the Princess of Luolan City, the Flower of the North. TSK, 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 the upper limit of the loan amount is exaggeratedly high. The second piece of information is about the smelly giant monster. The opponent occupies a ruins building. It shows traces on the 15th of every month and disappears on the 20th. No wonder there are no traces in the past few days. The ruins and buildings are all derived from ancient ruins, and such things may hide great treasures. The main plane of Noel has a long history. It has experienced 8 wars of gods, destroyed civilizations, buried cities, and countless shattered plains. Because of the passage of time, some were covered by the earth, and some flowed into the dimensional plane. By chance, these ancient ruins will be revealed. There may be hidden treasures that make the king tremble, and there may be buried artifacts of ancient gods. Of course, there is also the possibility of encountering extreme terror. The ruins building occupied by the smelly giant demon is obviously a good thing, otherwise the other party would not be able to live so freely. You must go and see it then. The third piece of information greatly increased Lear's interest. No wonder those rotten orcs dared to attack the swamp wasps. It turns out there is such a secret. The following tips are also very interesting. Using earth dragon feces can greatly increase the power. Isn't this a coincidence? He still had some genuine giant dragon excrement left in his hand, which was not even a bit stronger than earth dragon excrement. Meyer Queen Bee can activate the treasure of talent. He will decide. Information number 4, 3-star value. Bubble Beast can filter out sediment to obtain clean water. Lear took a deep breath, and most of the stress of the past few days disappeared. The intelligence system was indeed triggered based on what he had recently come into contact with. This piece of information can solve a big problem. I haven't found anything on the water source issue in the past few days, and I'm almost sick. Without food, we can still rely on hunting. Without clean water, it is almost impossible to live a day. Living on distilled water is not a long-term solution. it is indeed worth 3 stars of information and deserves this value. Seeing the 5th item, Lear's eyes moved slightly. Dragon blood red fish. You will know it is extraordinary when you hear this name. The farmland has been reclaimed, but we can't just eat wheat bread, right? Meat, eggs and milk. Even without milk, we need to supplement protein. Although the swamp lacks drinkable water, it is not short of water. Catch some and maybe try breeding. The intelligence value is as high as 3 stars. These dragon blood red fish are obviously not ordinary goods. This time, it's a big explosion, and it's comfortable. Satisfied, Lear returned to his tent and fell asleep. The next morning, he summoned the army and searched in the northeast. Today's target is Bubble Beast. Other things can be postponed, but water is not enough. Distillation can quench thirst. But there are too many people and there is not so much wood around to serve as fuel. According to the intelligence, Bubble Beast lives in a small hill with vines growing. In order to be on the safe side, he brought 5 vine fairies. It's just the right professional match. Stepping into the swamp, the morning was with a light mist, the air was very humid, and it felt very comfortable. 5 vine fairies flapped their green wings that seemed to be woven from vines, and flew around Lear with a humming sound. From time to time, they would rub against him or rest on his shoulders. Their giggles were endless. With him around, these little guys would still feel at ease. Even if they left the vines, the ferocious wetland lizardmen softened their eyes when they saw this warm scene. About 10 minutes after leaving the city of Wet Dew, the wetland lizardmen searching ahead let out a shrill scream. Enemy attack. Lear's eyes fixed, and he immediately led his men forward. About 200 meters ahead, in a sparse forest, a team of wetland lizardmen stared fiercely ahead. Lear looked intently, and a dozen sturdy figures appeared in his sight. Gray-brown skin, hair as dense as a dense forest, human face, but with ferocity and savagery in the eyes, over 1.8 meters tall, wearing clothes made of leaves, holding hardwood spears and stone war hammers. These figures give people a wild impact, as if they came out of the primitive wilderness. They are now controlling 2 unconscious lizard men. The wetland lizard men also have a captive whose face cannot be seen clearly. Barbarian, level, intermediate knight, level 7, potential, 2 stars, racial talent, savage physique, with a strong body, endurance far beyond ordinary people, and an additional 35% increase in strength. Skills, war cry, 2 stars. Before attacking, a shocking war cry is issued, and the strength of the self is increased by 20%. When the number of people who issue a war cry reaches 10, the strength is increased by an additional 20%. Beast instinct, 2 stars, possessing innate intuition, they can keenly perceive the arrival of danger. Evaluation, they are hunters in the wilderness. 2-star potential, 7-level intermediate knight dash, barbarian. Barbarians are different from another common race in the wilderness, barbarians. The barbarian civilization is more advanced, with many wild territories and towns. The barbarians wandered in the wilderness like savages. The number of barbarians is generally not large, and it is rare to see a group of 300 to 500 people. There are more small groups of more than 10 or 20 people. However, judging from the appearance of the other party, it is obvious that they have just entered the swamp. Seeing Lear and his party coming, the faces of the barbarians changed obviously. But looking at the unconscious companions in the hands of the wetland lizard men, they suddenly became agitated again. Speaking the language of the barbarians that outsiders could not understand, a wetland lizard man whispered, "Master, we just arrived here and found the traces of these barbarians. The other party directly attacked us. Fortunately, the companions around us have not dispersed yet, and we forcibly captured the unconscious barbarian who was protected by the other party. This barbarian seems to have a high status. After we caught it, the other party dared not attack us again." Lear took a look at the unconscious barbarian and did not see any difference, and there was no difference in attributes. Hearing their conversation, the strongest barbarian leader took 2 steps forward and spoke in a somewhat stiff common language. "Human, please release our companions. I am willing to exchange them with your companions." The 7th-level hero beside him, Hags, looked cold. "Master, barbarians never keep their word." Hearing this, the barbarian leader scolded. "Lizard men, don't compare the Hisham clan with other barbarians. The chief taught us that keeping promises is a virtue that barbarians must have. I can swear to you in the name of the Hisham clan. Moreover, this time we are looking for the surrounding territories and opening up trade, not to make enemies. Chief. Hisham clan. And, start trade. This guy didn't lie. After integrating into the godhood, Lear has an extraordinary keen perception of other people's emotions, whether they are lying or have malicious intentions. You can tell at a glance. He looked at these guys with some curiosity. A barbarian dressed in leaves wants to start trade. He felt an inexplicable sense of absurdity. Chapter 35 Additional information. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hisham clan. How many tribesmen do you have? Have you also established a territory in the swamp? The barbarian leader was stunned for a moment, as if he didn't expect Lear to ask this question. He hesitated and said slowly. Humans, we have established a territory with thousands of barbarians. It is only 3 or 4 days away from the swamp. Then he said another harsh word. If you kill my people, the Hisham clan, I will definitely take revenge on you. Lear was not interested in his threats, but the territory he spoke of made him thoughtful. Barbarian territory for thousands of people. For a giant city like Lowland City, it was inconspicuous, but for barbarians who were used to being scattered, this scale was not small. More importantly, this is a wilderness far away from human civilization. At this moment, the intelligence system suddenly flashed a new message. The first wild tribe, the Hisham clan, came to visit and sought to open trade, which triggered an additional piece of information. The chief of the Hisham clan gained extraordinary wisdom and prepared to unite the barbarians into a rope. Build your own barbarian main city in the wilderness, so you are looking to expand trade with the outside world. The other party occupies a unique mine that is rich in gold and various rare ores. If you carry out trade with it, you will not only gain the friendship of the barbarians, but also a lot of rare ores can be obtained. Lear, who was thinking, saw the information and his eyes lit up. These barbarians actually mean it. The thoughts in my heart immediately changed. While he was silent, the barbarian suddenly discovered that the wetland lizardmen were surrounding him from all directions. Surround them, hundreds of heavily armed soldiers stared at them indifferently, and the pressure instantly exploded. The barbarian leader gritted his teeth. Human. What do you want? Look at this. I can't be kind today. Lear withdrew his mind, looked directly at the other party, and said slowly. I am very interested in your Shahim clan. My territory has just been established. Maybe I can establish trade relations with you. Make friends at a distance and attack at close range. Trade is always the best way to prosper a territory. Without the intelligence system prompting, Wailus City would definitely have to start trade with the outside world. The barbarian leader was obviously a little stunned. Establishing trade? With some hesitation and caution. Human, are you really willing to open trade with us? That the current appearance does not seem like the state to talk about such a thing. Lear nodded. Now that your lives are in my hands, what good will it do me to deceive you? The barbarian leader was speechless. Lear continued without waiting for the other party to speak. The prerequisite for opening up trade is that everyone gets what they need. My swamp is rich in products and there is no shortage of anything. I need to know what you can provide and what you need. Although the information has hints, the questions that should be asked cannot be omitted. These words made the barbarian leader a little more serious. We need a lot of food and salt. We can exchange it for gold, or slaves. He added another sentence. It's okay if you can provide weapons, armor, and iron tools. These supplies are basically necessities that are lacking in the wilderness. In this jungle where the jungle is full of predators, the human lifestyle is too luxurious for life in the wilderness. That requires a sufficiently stable environment, and what is lacking most here is stability. For example, hunting and gathering are the most common ways to obtain food. Hunting is the main method, but hunting is not stable and carries a high risk of casualties. It is very difficult to maintain a huge force just by hunting. In a barbarian territory like this, the daily food needed by thousands of people is a huge burden. There are extremely practical reasons why most races in the wilderness are unable to establish territories and develop city-states. Lear's eyes moved slightly. Gold. Slave. He thought of the ore trade during the Age of Discovery in the Middle Ages on Earth. Exchanging glass beads for precious stones is a real huge profit. If this barbarian territory has this potential, it will be a huge benefit to Waylu's city. Nod slowly. What you say is true or false needs to be verified. Please follow me to the territory and live there for 2 months. When I'm done with this period of time, I will go to the Shaheen clan with you to talk about opening up trade. The other barbarians were a little restless, and their eyes were filled with anger, but the leading savage waved the crowd down. Sir, I promise you. But if your will changes, I beg you to let my companions go. That we are fighting for the sword and we are fighting for the flesh. If we fight to the death now, our death will be in vain. Judging from the other party's attitude, it seems that he is really interested in opening commerce. Even if there is only a 1/10 chance, he is willing to bet. The will of the chief must be carried out, that's the light of their savages. His eyes became firm, he turned to look at his companions behind him and scolded him in barbarian language, then the restlessness disappeared. Seeing this, Lear nodded slowly. As long as you don't do anything detrimental to me, my promise will be fulfilled. Although the words were plain, all barbarians could hear the unquestionable determination. The leading barbarian breathed a sigh of relief, raised his chest and lowered his head, saluting with respect. My lord, Akenza, I send you my regards. Lear nodded slightly. Say hello to you, Lear. Sensing that several people had completely lost their hostility and threat, they signaled to the wetland lizard warriors behind them. Akenza, we still have to go hunting and clean up the dangers around the territory. We cannot return to the territory for the time being. Please temporarily join my army and obey the unified command and dispatch. Is this human lord so trusting of them? The barbarian leader was a little stunned. He nodded with some complicated emotions. In the dangerous wilderness, without unified command, it would be an absolute disaster to encounter the enemy. Lear, who possesses divine status, is far beyond their imagination. As long as there is even the slightest bit of hostility, he can respond immediately. He seems to be tolerant, but everyone is under his control. The barbarians didn't know this. They just thought that Lear was true to his words, and they had some respect in their hearts. Lear is also unequivocal, giving the barbarian a sequence alone. At the same time, a touch of wetland restored the 2 captured lizard warriors and the barbarian. This made the eyes of several barbarians change again. In a battle, with such a mage who can heal, the chance of survival will definitely skyrocket. It's a pity that there are too few mages. There are thousands of barbarians in their clan, but there are only 2 mages. And they don't know how to heal. Lear also asked specifically about the identity of the unconscious barbarian. There was a bit of a misunderstanding. The other person was Akenza's younger brother. He was bitten by a venomous snake before. After the toxin was removed, he has been in a coma. It would be better now to just revive him. This also made the barbarians' attitude towards Lear significantly improve. The army continued to move forward, and 3 teams of wetland lizardmen formed 2 groups and began to explore a larger area. After these 2 days of fighting, the upgrade progress of the wetland lizardmen has increased to 95%. All it takes is a new battle to meet the upgrade requirements, but the battle I wanted today has never been encountered. I walked forward for 2 hours without encountering a swamp monster. There were quite a few animals on the road, but when they sensed the approach of the large army, they fled from a distance, relying on the hunting instinct of the wetland lizard people. In the end they only killed a few swamp boars for extra meals at night, but they did not quench their thirst at all. Lear also felt helpless and had to expand the search scope. After walking forward for more than half an hour, the lizard man in front sent back a message. The destination was found. When Lear arrived at the front, he saw a small hill standing on the swamp, covering an area of several hundred meters and exceeding 30 meters in height. There are dense vines growing on the hills. These vines are common plants in swamps and look green and full of life. Surprisingly, where the vines took root at the foot of the hill, the muddy water that should have been murky is now crystal clear. You can see many dark blue fish swimming in the water. There are even more than a dozen big fish. Over 2 meters tall. Seeing the crowd approaching, the big fish swung their tails and entered the natural hiding place formed by the roots of the vines. 100 meters away from the hill, the slowly flowing silt water still smelled bad. there was a huge contrast between the two. Lear was in a good mood when he saw this scene. Chapter 36 Bubble Beast. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Akenza, the leader of the barbarians, looked at the vines all over the ground and the fish in the water with some envy. The food in the swamp is too rich, and the water here is also very clear. Unfortunately, if it were next to the clan, the problem of lack of water and food would be alleviated. Lear ignored the barbarians and waved his hand back. The vine fairies hiding among the wetland lizardmen flapped their green wings woven with vines and flew to him. Father God. Lear nodded and pointed to the front. Under these vines, there is a unique life hidden, Bubble Beast. Go find them. Bubble Beast? What kind of life is this strange name? Under the curious gaze of the barbarians, the vine fairy immediately patted her chest and responded, flapping her wings and flew into the hills. The moment she approached the vines all over the mountains, she turned directly into spots of light and merged into them. It looked quite magical. The next moment, the densely entangled vines began to wriggle like an octopus. Countless branches began to wave. Waving in the air and making a whirring sound, the whole hill came alive. It looked strangely beautiful. The barbarians did not know the ability of the vine fairy, and they looked at all this in amazement. Lear's perception was fully open. At this moment, he could clearly sense that after the vine fairy merged into the vine, more than 20 new life breaths appeared in the hill. Originally, this was the opponent's home court, but the vine fairy used the vines to drive the opponent away until they were concentrated in a certain area. Then, the vines with thick and green roots on the hill suddenly rose from the ground and swayed in the air. On the vines, like hemp ropes, 26 sleepy and strange lives were tied up. The body was about 1 meter tall, with a pair of small fleshy wings on the back and a chubby mouth. The face is like a big bun, round and plump. A pair of black eyes are rolling around. The body is like a little dinosaur in a cartoon, with an inflatable fat tail, 2 thick legs in the lower body, and arm-like claws in the upper body, which are also fleshy. Is this Bubble Beast? Lear was quite surprised. This is too cute. If it were put on Earth, it would be rubbed bald, right? Bubble Beast, level, intermediate magic life, level 8, potential, 3 stars, magic, 2500, racial talent, bubble blast. The bubbles spit out contain special magic, which has infinite uses, and can control up to 20 bubbles. Skills, Garolu, 2 stars. The bubbles spit out can filter out impurities in the water and obtain clean water. Bubble Bomb, 2 stars. Compresses clean water or air in the bubble, which explodes instantly, causing huge damage to enemies within 10 meters. Bubble Prison, 2 stars. Imprisoning the enemy in a bubble, it can make the opponent's body limp and powerless, unable to mobilize the power in the body. Evaluation, rare magical life. They even have to use bubbles to reproduce. 3-star potential, up to 3 level 8 skills, and all 2-star skills. Lear was in a good mood. Those chubby bubble beasts were still a little confused at the moment, not understanding what was going on. They were sleeping well, and suddenly they were pulled up by vines, and tied up tightly, unable to move. Lear didn't wait for the bubble beasts to come back to their senses. His eyes were slightly fixed, and he mobilized the godhood in his mind. Endless pressure surged out. It directly enveloped these magical lives. The next moment, Lear didn't feel the slightest resistance, and directly imprinted a mark in their souls. It was so smooth that he felt like he was hallucinating. The confused bubble beasts subconsciously turned their heads to look at Lear, and their black eyes showed intimacy. Master! The clear shouts came one after another, and the attitude changed so quickly that the barbarians didn't react. How did he become the master? Lear was stunned for a moment, and his expression became a little subtle. I thought there would be a fierce battle, and he was mentally prepared to pay a certain amount of casualties. Unexpectedly, it was so simple that he even doubted whether there was a problem in some links. This is a 3-star value, important information related to the survival of Wei Lu City. The result is just like this. Retracting scattered thoughts, waving hands, let the vine fairy let go of these little guys. The vines swayed, crossed the clear water, and put the bubble beast on the ground. A chubby, round little dinosaur got up from the ground and trotted to Lear, holding his thighs. He began to act coquettishly. Master! 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 That the annoying and flustered master, like a kindergarten kid, made Lear a little overwhelmed. Okay, quiet, that when the sound subsided a little, he said immediately. Do you have anything else here? We are going back to our new home, and we need to take all the supplies with us. No more. Master, we don't have anything. Going to our new home? Great. That as soon as the words fell, these chubby little dragon cubs started to make noise again, and the chirping sound was completely uncontrollable. Lear's eyelids twitched. Good guy, this is a bunch of babies back. No wonder it's so smooth, waved his hand and asked the wetland lizardmen to protect these little guys and return to the territory quickly. More than 20 kids were together, and they were a little nervous after a while. The vine fairy put the vine back on the hill and flapped her wings to return. These cute guys looked at the bubble beast curiously. And the bubble beast also opened its big black eyes and looked at these lives that made them feel very close. This is a cute contest. The two sides played together. In a short while, the noise suddenly reached a new level. Lear found it funny, but he didn't stop them, so he let them go. He returned to the territory with the army at a faster speed. At dusk, before the sun set, they arrived at the territory. The barbarians who saw the city of Glimmering for the first time were silent for a long time, looking at the blank territory. They looked at Lear with a complicated look. Sir, do you also want to trade in your territory? Seeing the eyes of these guys, Lear said meaningfully. Everything is just starting in the city of Weirdo, and it is the time when we need friends. If we are already strong, why should we cooperate with the barbarians? Akenza was speechless. The reputation of the barbarians in the wilderness is really not good, otherwise there would be no need to go out so hard to find a territory where they can open trade. Stay in the city of Weirdo for 2 months, and you will see everything. You 10 people, returning to the Hisham clan is just a few more laborers for hunting and moving bricks. Stay here and work for me for 2 months, and you can get a powerful territory as a trading partner. This business. Believe me, your chief will be satisfied with your choice. It's a choice, but is there a choice? Akenza had a headache, but he didn't say much, just hoped that the human lord would keep his promise. The weak have never had the power to control their destiny. Lear didn't say much nonsense, waved his hand and asked someone to take the barbarians down to rest. At the same time, he secretly ordered hags to secretly control their movements to prevent any accidents. After making some arrangements, he called Bane, who was still busy. As soon as this swamp hero with algae green eyes arrived, he saw the chubby bubble beast that looked like a meatball. He was immediately impressed. I thought the vine fairy was invincible, but I didn't expect there was such a cute little one. Whose general is this? The old face bloomed with a bright smile like a chrysanthemum. My lord, these are Bubble Beast. Lear introduced with some joy. The bubbles they spit out can filter the mud and sand to get clean water. In the future, they will be the water source of the city of Dew, and it is a water source that can be carried with you. These lives are so magical. Bane was very excited. The lack of water resources these days has made him anxious. The smell of swamp mud water is really fishy and unpleasant. Even if it is boiled and filtered several times, it is still difficult to swallow. The output of distilled water is small. He has not drunk a sip since he got up this morning. He would rather be thirsty than taste the taste of dead rats soaked in water. Lear didn't waste any words and brought a group of bubble beasts to the side of the swamp. Little guys, filter the muddy water in front of you into clean water. Hearing this, more than 20 bubble beasts immediately rushed to the front. Yes, master. Get out of the way, let me go first. Ah, you stepped on my foot, master. He stepped on my foot. What are you doing? You squeezed my butt. I'm standing in front, I'll go first. The scene suddenly became noisy. Bane was a little stunned and turned to look at Lear. My lord, they. Lear shrugged. It's just what you think. More than 20 chirping children. Only kindergarten teachers can calm them down. Bane smiled and was still in a good mood. As long as he can get clean water, let alone children, he would even worship him as a grandfather. Soon, a circle of chubby bubble beasts surrounded the edge of the swamp. A little guy began to blow air into the air, magic surged, and a transparent bubble slowly formed. In a moment, the bubble became bigger and bigger, and the diameter soared to 3 meters. then it slowly seeped into the swamp, squeezing out the muddy water around it, and the inside of the bubble was filling up at a speed visible to the naked eye, clear water. Clean and transparent water without a trace of impurities. Magic, so magical. Bane's face flushed red, and he stamped his feet in excitement, wishing he could rush over and drink a few sips immediately. Chapter 37 Chief Water Plant Executive. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 26 bubble beasts created 26 super large bubbles with a diameter of 3 meters and began to filter frantically. In an instant, 1/3 of the bubbles were filled with clean water. The high efficiency surprised Lear. At this speed, the clean water created by one bubble beast can supply the current Way-Loose city. After the bubbles were half filled with clean water, they gradually sank into the swamp, and then a magical scene appeared. These bubbles were connected together to form an elliptical super large bubble. This big bubble separated the silt outside and filtered the clean water at an even more exaggerated speed. In a moment, an elliptical clean water source was formed. The depth reached 5 meters, the width exceeded 10 meters, and the length reached an astonishing 50 meters. The bubbles merged into the water and became completely invisible. Even with magic perception, it was impossible to find their location. Looking around, you can only see a clear elliptical canal in the silt, and right next to it, the turbid and smelly silt water was still flowing slowly, forming a sharp contrast between the two. What a treasure. Lear was in a good mood as he looked at these super fierce little guys. He stepped forward, squatted down, and tried to explore downwards with his hands. He could feel a slight coolness when his hands passed through the bubbles, but there was no obstruction. He picked up the clear water and drank it gently. A sweet and cool taste entered his mouth, and the whole person became energetic. After filtering through the bubbles, it felt like drinking mountain spring water, compared with the stinky and unpleasant swamp water before. It was a world of difference. Bane on the side drank a few sips and was so excited that he could hardly swallow it. He said excitedly, "My lord! This is so wonderful," that he did not expect that the problem that made him so anxious would be solved in such a peculiar way. Lear smiled, looked at the bubble beast, and praised it generously. "Great job. You are the pride of the city of Dew." That he praised these little guys fiercely, finally asked, "How long can a bubble of this size last?" That looking at the little fat dragons that were chirping again, he glanced around and pointed to one of the bubble beasts that looked more calm. "You say it," that the bubble beast that was named immediately raised his little head and received a lot of envious looks. "Master, if it is only used to filter clean water, it does not consume much magic power. I can maintain it by myself." Before, everyone took turns to maintain the bubble. Each person was responsible for a month. One person can maintain it. Lear was quite surprised. No wonder such a large area of water near the hill is clear and transparent. These little guys are really treasures. Based on the filtration efficiency of this big bubble, it is enough to maintain the daily consumption of the city of Microdew, and even several times the population is enough. In the future, one person will be on duty every day to maintain the bubble here. He added another sentence. "I will build a water plant in the city of Microdew. Whoever is on duty here in the future will be the CEO of the water plant, and other bubble beasts will be responsible for assisting." All the bubble beasts' eyes lit up when they heard this. The CEO of the water plant sounds very powerful, and it can also get other bubble beasts to assist, just like kindergarten children getting a little red flower. The enthusiasm is instantly improved. "Master, I can keep it going. They were lazy before and I took care of the bubbles for 3 months alone. I also want to be the CEO of the water plant." Master. Lear laughed as he watched a group of little guys start to act like a spoiled child. "Who was your boss before?" That a group of bubble beasts subconsciously looked at the figure that Lear had just named. He immediately understood. "From now on, you will be the executive director of the water plant, responsible for arranging everyone's shifts, whether it's 1 day or 3 days, it's up to you to arrange it." As soon as the voice fell, the difference was immediately seen. The bubble beast showed a little joy on his face, but still nodded calmly. "Yes, master, I will arrange them." "What's your name?" "Master, I gave myself a name. Bobo." The little guy showed a bit of embarrassment on his face. Lear touched his head encouragingly. It was soft, like plasticine. This name is nice, Bobo. You will be in charge of the other bubble beasts from now on. Yes, master. Bobo raised his head and replied. Lear suddenly seemed to have thought of something and asked curiously. Why do you usually maintain such a big bubble, that the clear water near the hill is several times larger than the area here? For drinking alone, you don't need so much, Bobo responded. Master, fish is our food. Fish raised in clear water taste better. That's our fish pond. Good guy, fish pond. So those fish are all raised by you. Lear immediately thought of the fifth piece of information refreshed this time, 3-star value, dragon blood red fish. He said with interest. I plan to build a fish farm around the city of Wei-Lu. Where do you think is more suitable? Bobo stretched his little head to look around, and finally pointed to the direction of the starry sky vines in the north. Master, the water flows down from above, it's better to be above. The clean water we purify can also cover the entire area. Lear nodded. Very good. Can you catch fish? Bobo immediately became interested. He patted his chest with his chubby little paws. Of course, our bubbles can trap the fish directly. Fish is their food. The smile on Lear's face grew, turning to look at Bane. Is there any progress in the area to the south? Before setting off today, I informed Bane of the news about the dragon blood red fish and asked him to send people to investigate first. Sir, the depth of that water reaches 7 or 8 meters, and there is still thick silt at the bottom. We couldn't find anything. The fishing net is ineffective. Lear was not surprised. A treasure worth 3 stars would not be that simple. Bobo, early tomorrow morning, you take 10 of your companions with me to go hunting, and the others stay in the territory to maintain the blisters. Bane, you are responsible for arranging their daily life. After some more communication, the sky was getting dark, the army dispersed, and the swamp men began to light a fire and cook. We hunted 2 swamp wild boars today, and we can enjoy a sumptuous pig-killing feast in the evening. Fortunately, there is Noah's rice, otherwise this amount of food would not be enough for these 300 people. Night falls, the starry sky is twinkling, and the vine fairy begins her daily work. She grows up quickly and lets the power of starlight feed the starry sky vines, making these 2-star magic plants grow very fast. The barbarians who had had dinner were suddenly attracted and came to the central area curiously. Immediately, I saw that the vine building, which was originally quite rough and only had a rough frame, was growing at a speed visible to the naked eye, gradually weaving together. They vaguely formed the appearance of a building. My heart was trembling with fear. After watching it for more than an hour, Akenza calculated with trembling heart that at this construction speed that I end this blank territory, it won't take long for a large splendid building to be built. Is what the human lord said true? Will we be able to start business relations with them in 2 months? Human beings are unfathomable. The next morning, August 11th, Lear woke up and as usual checked the construction progress of the Government Affairs Hall in Wei-Lu City. Although it is huge, due to the unrestricted efforts of the Vine Fairy, 1/3 of the construction progress has been completed. Perhaps there are still 10 days before his first building can be initially completed, and based on the characteristics of this building, it can be continuously expanded on this basis. The potential is endless. After a simple wash, he immediately summoned the army, took 10 bubble beasts, and went to the south to capture the dragon blood red fish. The 10-kilometer journey is neither far nor close, but if there are no mistakes along the way, we won't be able to return until noon. When preparing to set off, he was surprised to find that the attitude of the barbarians had changed dramatically. Before, there was helplessness in the vigilance, but now, everyone's face is full of longing, and their eyes are full of kindness and respect when they look at him. Motivation has been greatly improved. After chatting for a while, I realized that the other party seemed to particularly admire the fast-growing vine buildings. After understanding what he meant, Lear smiled, patted Akenza, the barbarian leader, on the shoulder, and said nothing more. Where are you now? With him here, Wei-Lu City will still make the entire wilderness tremble in the future. Gather your mind and set out to fish. 5. In the mud pool 10 kilometers south of, there lives a group of dragon blood red fish. The meat is extremely delicious, without spines and bones. 3 stars. Chapter 38 Dragon Blood Red Fish, Big Profit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Leave the territory and head south. 10 kilometers is not far, but in the swamp, you need to be alert to danger at all times. This also leads to a slow travel speed, and it takes more than 2 hours to travel at full speed. The barbarians followed them, and they took them more to take precautions. Halfway through the journey, when passing through a half-man-high reed, a buzzing sound came from the sky like thunder. The sound approached quickly, and everyone felt a huge stone pressing on their hearts. Lear looked up and saw a black cloud covering the sky. Mosquitoes. Countless mosquitoes. There were too many of them, covering the sky and forming a terrifying black tide. Its wingspan exceeded 20 centimeters, and its body was 1/3 the size of a fist, black and white spots, and its mouth had sharp mouthparts like steel needles. What was surprising was that these mosquitoes actually lifted a 10-meter-long brown spotted python together and quickly flew across the sky. This scene made people's backs cold. Flesh and Blood Giant Mosquito, Level 3, Potential, 1 star. Racial talent, bloodthirsty and flesh-thirsty, extremely eager for flesh and blood, can swallow flesh and blood with mouthparts and bring it back to the nest. Skill, paralysis, 1 star, when attacking the enemy with mouthparts, it will cause paralysis effect, making the enemy unconscious. Evaluation, an unbearable insect. The attributes of a single flesh and blood giant mosquito are relatively ordinary, but in an exaggerated number, it becomes extremely terrifying. Mosquitoes are different from wasps. They are not social insects and do not have the habit of building nests in groups, but now it seems that anything is possible in this fantasy world. When the tide of mosquitoes passing by the flank disappeared from sight, Lear took a deep breath. The pressure in his heart quietly increased. Although the current Wei-Lu city has some foundations, the swamp is full of dangers. If you want to gain a firm foothold, you need to continue to develop. Flying dragons, swamp wasps, two-headed ogres, rotten centaurs, and stinking giant monsters now have a giant bloody mosquito, which are all sources of danger. The territory seems stable at the moment, but the crisis may break out at any time. We need to speed up the upgrade and development progress. There is also the power of the swamp, which belongs to the power of the gods and must be obtained as soon as possible. While thinking, Lear asked the army to speed up the march and try to catch dragon blood red fish this morning. After walking forward for about half an hour, we passed a smelly and silty area. The soil here rolled, and there were many fragments of the fleshy giant mosquitoes that we had just seen on the ground. There were also traces of large areas of giant pythons crawling in the central area. The giant python was obviously hunted by the fleshy giant mosquito here. Mosquitoes kill pythons. Crazy and fantastic. Continue to move forward in this direction and find more traces of battle, but there was only blood and a lot of dry bones on the ground, and the flesh and blood were swallowed and taken away by the fleshy giant mosquitoes. Everyone's eyes were solemn and no one spoke. The barbarians were also trembling, and their envy for the swamp was thrown out of their minds. Fortunately, the Hisham clan was far away from the swamp. Otherwise, an insect plague of this scale could severely damage or even destroy them. No wonder no one has established a territory around the swamp. It is too dangerous. The monsters on the road were cleared by the flesh and blood giant mosquitoes, which made the journey smoother. At 9 o'clock in the morning, passing through a low grass, Lear saw a turbid pool of water with a diameter of more than 200 meters. The water was turbid and it was impossible to see the bottom. In the central area, bubbles of various sizes kept coming out, and at the same time, turbid water was surging out. This is it. Lear took a long breath and looked at the bubble beast. Bobo, the dragon blood red fish is hidden in the water, but we lack the means to catch it now. Do you have any way? Bobo puffed up his chest and said in a baby voice. Master, you can use bubbles to isolate the muddy water and drive the fish to a small area. Then catch them. Using fish as food, there are unique ways. Lear reached out and touched the little guy's head, encouraging him. Bobo looks very powerful. Come on, catch all the dragon blood red fish. He was also very curious about what was so special about the 3-star fish. Encouraged, Bobo immediately became excited and brought other bubble beasts to the muddy water. Huhu started blowing bubbles into the air. In the blink of an eye, a 3-meter-high bubble was blown up by them, and then a magical scene appeared. The bubble beast stepped out and entered the bubble directly, and the bubble has not burst yet. Gurgle bubbles rolled directly from the river bank into the water. These little guys drove the bubbles to the center of the pool like a small boat. Lear was a little surprised. This works. After arriving at the center, the bubble beast blew bubbles happily. The bubble expanded to a diameter of 3 meters, like a stone falling into the water, sinking quickly to the bottom. Each bubble beast can control up to 20 bubbles. These 10 bubble beasts mean 200 bubbles. This is already a very impressive number. Continuous bubbles fell into the water, like a fishing net, and began to swim in the water. Lear was sharp-eyed and saw that when a bubble passed over an area, the bubble was like a collapsed fishing net, directly catching all the fish swimming around it. Inside, the fish wanted to get out, but it was like encountering a steel cage, and no matter how many times it hit, it remained indifferent. Lear was amazed. This way of catching fish is too cool, right? There were more and more bubbles, connecting into one underwater, gradually driving away the fish from left to right. 200 bubbles are fully loaded. On the shore where Lear was, he could clearly feel that the fish were becoming more active at this moment. He kept jumping out of the water, making ripples and circles, but they are all common fish, and even though they are big, there is nothing unusual about them. Dragon blood red fish. Where is the dragon blood red fish? The bubbles gradually gathered around and the water became narrower and narrower. The fish jumped more and more violently, but when they gathered around an area of only about 10 meters in front, the water bubbles had already overflowed, and even the surface began to be covered with bubbles. It can be seen that some fish caught in bubbles are almost full. When it was approaching a few meters from the shore, a pure red fish suddenly jumped up and tried to jump over the net of bubbles, but the next moment, he plunged into the bubble and was imprisoned. The first time he saw the fish, Lear knew that the goal of this trip was achieved. The pure red fish is as bright as blood. The body is about 1 meter long, with 2 long beards on both sides of the mouth that look like the beards of a giant dragon. The fish scales on the body are 1/3 the size of a palm, giving people a sacred feeling. After getting close, you can still feel the faint dragon power on its body. While swimming, one feels that this is something extraordinary. Dragon blood red fish, magic life. Level, 2 stars, characteristics, 1, unparalleled. Deliciousness, extremely delicious meat, delicious in the world. 2. Strong, after consumption, it can permanently increase physical strength. Introduction, after the death of the ancient dragon, its blood was swallowed by fish and evolved into dragon blood red fish. 2 stars. Magic life. I caught it this time. At this moment, the surrounding bubbles seemed to have opened their huge mouths like evil beasts, and suddenly expanded and attacked, directly covering all the waters on the shore. The swimming fish inside had no time to react before they were caught by the bubble. Click click. Bubbles burst one by one. Many small fish were reintroduced into the swamp. Big fish are concentrated in several bubbles. The most eye-catching thing is 3 of the bubbles. Dozens of dragon blood red fish, more than 1 meter long, with bright colors, are shining brightly. When Lear saw this scene, his face instantly smiled brightly. Dozens of 2-star magic lives. This wave of fucking profits is huge. Chapter 39. Braised and steamed, a delicacy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bobo proudly brought the bubble beasts back to the shore, then he went directly to the shore. The bubbles were like tough cloth and would not be punctured by the stones on the ground. After stabilizing, the bubbles were broken under the control of these fleshy little dinosaurs. They came to Lear with great enthusiasm to ask for credit. Master, we have caught all the fish in the water. These red fish look delicious. Can we try them? Master. Lear was in a good mood. He praised these little guys. These bubble beasts look cute, but they are very capable. This time they have made great contributions. After an inventory, a total of 47 dragon blood red fish were caught this time. They were all big fish, and there were no young fish. However, the bubble beasts repeatedly confirmed that all the dragon blood red fish in the water had been caught. Lear nodded with satisfaction. It was a big profit to get dozens of 2-star dragon blood red fish. The remaining ordinary fish filled 5 bubbles, which was also a great harvest. After getting what he should get, Lear, who was in a good mood, did not hesitate and returned directly to the territory. Although he encountered a terrible bloody giant mosquito tide on this trip, there were not many accidents and he still got what he wanted most, Bubble Beast controlled 8 bubbles with a diameter of 3 meters and filled with fish, and followed him. These bubbles were floating in the air as if they had no gravity. Lear looked at the movements of these little guys and felt that Bubble Beast had unlimited potential: fishing, filtering clean water, breeding, and using bubbles to transport items, and even using bubbles to fight are simply multifunctional chariots. The only pity is that the number is a little small. Thinking of this, Lear asked curiously, "Bobo, how do you reproduce?" Reproduction. Bobo was a little puzzled when he heard this word. Lear explained with a smile. "How can we create new bubble beasts? It's very simple. Just use bubbles to merge with other people's bubbles, and then drip into our blood. In just 3 months, a new companion can be born." Bobo's face was bitter after he finished speaking. "But bleeding hurts a lot, and each time we lose half a month's strength. So we rarely take the initiative to create new bubbles, unless there is an unexpected situation and we need to add companions." Lear thought of the evaluation on the Bubble Beast panel. Even reproduction requires bubbles, real bubble beasts. However, the cost of these little guys' reproduction is only to lose half a month's strength. What kind of price is this? We have to increase their number later. If there are 300 or 500, wouldn't it be heaven? Touching Bobo's little head, he didn't say much. 26 is still too few. Returning the same way, nothing unexpected happened. When returning to the territory, Bane immediately came to meet him. Seeing the bubbles filled with fish floating in the air, his smile was bright again. "Sir, so many fish, a great harvest." Lear smiled. "It's all thanks to Bubble Beast." He pointed to the dragon blood red fish in the middle. He said seriously, "These are 2-star magic life. Dragon blood red fish can permanently increase physical strength after eating, and the meat is delicious, which is extremely rare. Deal with 3 first and eat tonight. The rest will be kept in the north temporarily. You can arrange 2 bubble beasts to manage them." Lear has been used to Bane these days. This swamp hero is flexible and decisive. It is very suitable for handling these trivial matters. Dragon blood red fish. 2-star magic life. Bane immediately became interested. "Sir, do you want to try to raise this good thing? That with Bubble Beast here, you can try it." "Of course you can. But we caught 47 dragon blood red fish, but there are no young fish. Maybe breeding is a problem. You should pay more attention to it." "Yes, sir. Leave it to me." Bane has always been very active in this matter, although he has only been in the mud swamp for a few days, but he has personally participated in the construction of the territory in the past few days. Seeing it getting better day by day, that feeling is so wonderful. He is full of confidence and expectations for the future of the city of Wei Lu. Soon, a dozen mud people began to kill fish. All the ordinary swamp fish were processed. If they couldn't be eaten, they would be smoked and dried. 3 big and fat dragon blood red fish were selected, almost reaching 1.5 meters, cooked by the mud people with the best skills. An hour later, a special fragrance suddenly appeared in the territory. The busy people turned their heads from time to time to look at the temporary kitchen. The sound of swallowing saliva came one after another. The fragrance seemed to penetrate into the soul, making them unable to stop. Bubble Beast couldn't even bear to blink, and the saliva at the corners of his mouth almost wet his stomach. Finally, after cooking over a high fire, the Swampman chefs in the kitchen jointly brought out 3 large pots of dragon blood red fish delicacies. The largest pot was served to Lear, 1 pot belonged to Bubble Beast, and the remaining pot was enjoyed by the wetland lizardman warriors. The Swampman enjoyed a sumptuous fish feast, but they were temporarily out of luck with treasures like red blood. Dragon fish. On the wooden table, Lear looked at a large pot of stewed dragon blood red fish in front of him, and the fragrance made him salivate uncontrollably. It was so tempting. He has eaten countless delicacies, but this one is so tempting, and the aroma reaches straight to the soul, never seen before. Taking a deep breath, he picked up the special chopsticks and picked up a piece. The fish meat is like garlic cloves with clear texture. Slowly put it into your mouth. An indescribable wonderful feeling blooms on the tip of the tongue. At this moment, it was like ascending into the clouds, and the whole person was wrapped in marshmallow-like clouds. It was an unprecedented experience, and the deluxe version of 8888's big sword was even less than 1/10,000th. After swallowing, a warm current surged up, and the body seemed to become a little tougher. Strength comes from within. Every cell is cheering. This is not only delicious food, but also an enjoyment that cleanses the body and touches the soul. After eating it in one bite, I couldn't help it, so I continued with the second and third bites. A big fish of 1.5 meters and about 30 kilograms was eaten by him all by himself. When the fish meat enters the belly, it is directly transformed into pure energy, leaving no residue at all. By the end, my whole body felt warm, as if I had soaked in a hot spring. I can clearly feel that my physical fitness has soared significantly. The 5 fingers of his right hand clenched into a fist and violently swung forward. The air carries a harsh sound of breaking through the air. It is 2 or 3 times stronger than before. Exaggerate. After consumption, physical strength can be permanently increased. This is the 2-star magic life. It's so cool. Lear was amazed. Unfortunately, by the end of the meal, the effect of the fish was no longer obvious, and the last 10.5 had no response at all. If the upper limit can be continuously raised, I don't dare think about it. What's even more amazing is the taste of dragon blood red fish. Even if it doesn't have the property of increasing physical strength, this unique taste experience alone is worth thousands of dollars. You must try to raise them, otherwise if you keep eating like this, you won't be able to withstand it for a few times. He could no longer accept the life without dragon blood red fish. After lunch, the territory felt peaceful and comfortable. I haven't had such a good meal in a long time. The big fish was thick and plump, and everyone had a delicious meal. Bubblemon and Wetland Lizardman, who enjoyed the dragon blood red fish, were even more immersed in the wonderful taste experience. After Lear took a lunch break, he called Bane. The swamp hero led him eagerly to the north of the territory, pointing to the muddy land ahead. Described the entire area in front as a fish farm. You arrange personnel for special management. He said and looked at Bubblemon aside. Bobo, use bubbles to build a mud wall in front to prevent the dragon blood red fish from escaping. We also need to arrange for someone to control the bubble and breed the dragon blood red fish in the bubble. Dragon blood red fish seemed difficult to raise, but he was unwilling to give it a try. After the order was given, Bane and Bobo took action immediately. Bobo summoned 10 bubble beasts, and together with him, he began to control the bubbles to circle a large breeding farm in the north of. With a diameter of more than 100 meters, it can be expanded at any time if needed later. They controlled the bubble like a bulldozer, squeezing the surrounding mud, hollowing out the ground, and building a thick partition wall around it. At the same time, an oversized bubble condensed in the center, wrapping the dragon blood red fish under double protection. It is impossible for these peerless delicacies to escape. The first version of the fish pond was quickly completed with the help of Bubble Beast. Watching the dragon-blooded red fish swimming in the crystal-clear bubbles, Bane, after getting over his excitement, scratched his head and asked Lear, "Sir, what should we feed them?" Lear stared at the dragon-blood red fish swimming happily and said in a light voice, "Since it's a fish, I guess it can't live without those things, meat and grass." After starving for a few days, feeding them meat and grass in turns, they will eventually find what they like to eat. Or let the bubble beasts divide several areas and compare them. A life like a fish, if it is hungry for 10 days and a half, is just like a normal person. If it is fatter, it can last for several months. There is plenty of time to find a way for them, but if it doesn't work, just kill them and drink them. There is always a way. Chapter 40 Bubble gives birth to a baby. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The 5 pieces of information refreshed this time. The 4th bubble beast and the 5th dragon blood red fish have been obtained. Now only the first few pieces of information with slightly lower value have not been completed. 1. 5 kilometers southwest, there is a rose flower with 12 varieties. 1 star. 2. 5 kilometers north, the stinking giant monster occupies an ancient ruins building. The building will only appear on the 15th of every month. 2 stars. 3. The corrupt orcs found that using black dragon broadleaf grass to dry and mix it with blood to ignite smoke can make the mud wasp fall into a coma, but the smoke can only cause a coma for 10 minutes. They did not control the time well and suffered heavy casualties. Adding dragon feces can greatly enhance the effect. 2 stars, the rose flower is simple, just send someone to dig it back, the matter of the stinking giant monster needs to wait until the 15th. At present, there are only mud wasps left, the queen bee of the swamp, which can improve potential and awaken talents, is a treasure that cannot be discarded. Bane, do you know black dragon broadleaf grass? Black dragon broadleaf grass, Bane, who was still thinking about how to plan the fish farm and how to feed the dragon blood red fish, looked at Lear with some doubts. My lord, this weed is said to have mutated from the blood of the black dragon. It can only grow in dark and humid places, and it has a bad smell and is also toxic. It is of little use. He closed his mouth as soon as he said the latter sentence, it is of little use to others, but my lord has great means, so it must be of great use. I will send people to find it now. Although the place where it grows is remote, there are not many of them. Lear nodded. The more we collect, the better. Also, how much dragon feces are left? There is still 1.5 kilograms of dragon feces left, and it is currently stored in the warehouse. No one can use it without your order. Okay, keep it well, I will use it. Bane immediately became energetic. This was the first time that Lear had given such a serious instruction. Yes, Lear did not say much, and turned to look at the bright dragon blood red fish again. These 2-star magical creatures swam in the clear pool, giving people the feeling of a dragon entering the sea. I felt a little better. Many people like to raise fish, just like to watch them swim and be full of vitality, not to mention, this is a delicacy on Earth. It was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon when I finished all this. Seeing that the fish pond had been optimized a lot, and several partitions had been built up, I felt a sense of accomplishment in my heart. Raising fish, reclaiming land and farming, everything in the territory is changing in a good direction. While thinking, I summoned the bubble beast. Bobo, we are too short of manpower now. We need you to breed new bubble beasts to help the territory. You are very capable and can take on more responsibilities. Can I give this important task to you? Bobo was stunned for a moment, and then he patted his chest with his chubby little paws and said loudly as if he had been injected with chicken blood. Master, you can trust us. Very good, go and select the first batch of bubble beasts willing to take on this important task. After the first batch recovers, the second batch will continue to breed. Bobo, your task is heavy and the responsibility is great. I need your help. Feeling Lear's serious attitude, Bobo's eyes became firm. Master, I will endure it no matter how painful it is. I won't let you down. Very good, every bubble beast that reproduces can enjoy the deliciousness of dragon blood red fish again. After saying this, the chubby bubble beast swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and his eyes were full of color. I can't wait to start breeding now. Today's fish is so delicious, so delicious. Bobo quickly passed the news to other bubble beasts, and immediately selected 16 willing to reproduce. The remaining 10 needed to maintain the fishing grounds and water sources, and after the first batch recovered, they would be the second batch of reproduction. The 16 bubble beasts gathered around Lear with a little fear and expectation. Lear was also generous in encouragement and praise. You are the hope of the city of Weirdo and a role model for everyone. In the future, we will call on everyone in the city of Weirdo to learn from you. The various praises made these little guys feel like they had received the only little red flower in kindergarten, and their mood became very good. Lear was also quite curious about the reproduction of bubble beasts. After everything was ready, the bubble beasts were divided into groups of 2. These magical lives have no gender distinction, but reproduction requires 2 people together, standing on the shore, blowing a small bubble in his mouth. Then gritted his teeth, blood dripped from the tip of his tongue, and floated in the small bubble. The bubble flew into the air and slowly merged and overlapped with the bubble of another bubble beast that also contained blood. The 2 bubbles became one, and the blood inside them merged together. The next moment, the second bubble blew up. After blowing 3 bubbles in a row, their breath weakened at a speed visible to the naked eye. After all merged, there were 24 bubbles with blood left in the sky. The bubble beasts were so tired that they had difficulty breathing. They used their last strength to control the bubbles to slowly fall to the muddy bank, like eggs laid by fish, arranged one by one. half buried in the mud. 2 months later, as long as they are not destroyed, new partners will be born. Bobo looked at this scene and felt a little sorry for his little partner, but also a little happy about the upcoming birth of the tribe. They haven't had any new members for a long time because they are afraid of pain. Lear was also a little surprised. He didn't expect that 24 bubble beasts could be bred at one time, and there are still 10 bubble beasts that have not been bred yet. 5 pairs can be formed here, and there can be 15, in other words, 39 bubble beasts can be added at one time. If all of them are hatched, plus the original 26, the number can soar to 65, comfortable. Bubble beasts look cute, like children of 4 or 5 years old, but they are strategic forces, like vine fairies. They are extremely valuable to the city of Wei Lu. Speaking of which, how do vine fairies reproduce? I'll ask later. 16 vine fairies are indeed a little less. It's a bit difficult to build houses recently. In the future, the territory will expand and there will be more buildings. These 10 or so are far from meeting the needs. Let Bane settle the bubble beasts that will be depressed, and let the kitchen cook a dragon blood red fish to replenish their bodies, and praise them again. After a series of operations, these weak little guys also recovered a little, then they went to the rest area to enjoy themselves. The remaining 24 bubbles do not need any action. As long as they wait for time to breed, they can naturally hatch and become new bubble beasts. This area was turned into a restricted area, no one was allowed to enter, and a team of wetland lizardmen were sent to guard it. After all this, Lear came to the vine fairy. After a week of hard work, the vines in the central area have grown to a height of 8 or 9 meters, and the area is even wider. Under the guidance of the mud man, these vines began to gradually merge and weave with each other. The prototype of the first building of the city of Wei Lu, the municipal hall, has been formed. In 10 days, we can see the complete magnificent building woven by star vines. Summon a vine fairy and ask about reproduction. The vine fairy blushed and was too shy to look at Lear. Father God, we can give birth to babies by ourselves. After giving birth, the babies will be fostered in the vines and need to be nurtured by the vines. The vine fairy does not need ordinary food, and does not even eat dragon blood red fish. The vine provides them with all their energy. Give birth to babies by yourself? Don't you need to cooperate with others? Father God, we don't need it. The more she talked, the redder the vine fairy's face became, and she didn't dare to look at Lear. Parthenogenesis. Vine fairies are all female, there are no males. This is quite convenient. Lear laughed. There are many parthenogenetic lives on Earth, which is not surprising. Then, can we give birth to babies now? That the vine fairy became more shy. With a red and round face and a pink and tender mouth, she flapped her little wings and flew to his side, hugging his arms and shaking back and forth unwillingly. Father God. Lear's heart melted. Which old father can stand this kind of coquetry? Finally, under his inquiry, she whispered the secret of the next generation. The vine fairy can only give birth to a baby every year. It needs to enter the vine to give birth to its own crystal and let the vine nurture it. In this process, the vine needs sufficient nutrients and cannot be harmed, otherwise the baby will dissipate. The gestation process lasts for half a year, but giving birth to babies will not cause them to lose themselves, and it can even make the vine fairy more comfortable. Because the vine fairy will give birth to a baby every year. If it does not give birth, it will continue to consume its own energy to maintain the baby. Babies can be accumulated. After accumulating 3 or 4, it is a huge burden on the body. The vine fairy has accumulated 4 babies. Lear was quite surprised after hearing this, and hurriedly called all the vine fairies to let them nurture the next generation. The construction of the future territory depends entirely on these little guys.